All right, so we'll start. All right, let's play. I've got my homemade ice mocha. It's pretty good.
I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is bad boys. So, there are a number of masculine archetypes that successfully attract women, but no archetype is more perennially successful in attracting women than is the bad boy.
You heard that. All right. Now, depending on how much content you've watched, my content will determine how schizoid you're going right now. The bad boy archetype. Wow, man. You know, when I was watching it, my reaction when I was watching it live in the last video, but I cut it out to do it again properly in this upload, I was like, what? I was just caught off guard, you know, proper caught off guard. That's what we call, absolute garbage.
And this is actually counterintuitive to a lot of men, especially those men who listen to women when they describe what they are looking for in a man. You know what comes out of their mouths? I want a man who respects me. A man who gives green flags.
That's a woman, by the way.
A man who buys me flowers. A man who is emotionally available, etc., etc., etc. And allow me to assure you, a bad boy ain't doing any of that shit. And yet, he is going to enjoy a great deal of optionality when it comes to women. So let's talk about why this might be the case. First and foremost, you have to appreciate that bad boys violate rules and social norms. Like, that's essentially what makes them bad. However, leaving the moral judgment behind, it's this behavior that makes these men antisocial and dangerous. And dangerous men are attractive to women for a variety of reasons. First, danger is exciting. And excitement, like by definition, is emotionally stimulating. And
I'm not going to pause and rant on as much. I want to try to get through the whole video. It's not too long. What was it? I think it's like, 11 minutes. We'll try to get through the whole video. It's fucking painful, man. And then we'll just come back to his points, all right? And we'll address. Just hang in there. It's painful, man.
Any effective seduction technique works precisely to the extent that it succeeds in stimulating a woman's emotions. However, there's a deeper reason behind why this particular form of emotional stimulation is so effective with women. Namely, it allows the woman to transcend her fear through identification. Say what you want about antisocial men, but they possess some degree of courage. It takes courage to break rules and violate social norms, to say the thing that no one else is willing to say, and do the thing that no one else is willing to do. Most people, especially women, go through life afraid. They're afraid of the consequences of acting according to their own desires,
especially
or speaking
women,
their truth, because they fear the resultant censure and social judgment. So the bad boy communicates through his actions that he has the courage to act in line with his desires and to speak his mind. This makes him incredibly attractive, as it suggests that he is both strong enough to exist without the approval of others and resourceful enough to exist without the support of others. Which segues into my next point. Bad boys give main character energy. Why? Because they take what they want from life rather than ask permission to receive it. Most people are working within the system to scrape together the satisfaction of their desires. They wait and they toil and they submit and they obey. But bad boys don't do that. If they want it, they take it. Or at the very least, they have the courage to operate within their own systems. Consider the Disney movie Aladdin, in which Princess Jasmine falls for Aladdin, our lovable street rat. Aladdin, first and foremost, is a criminal. He's a thief. He exists in the underclass of society, and yet he succeeds in seducing the Sultan's daughter. He does so under false pretenses, granted, but it kind of requires a dangerous antisocial personality to seduce under false pretenses, doesn't it? In any case, that's the deeper meaning of the movie's show-stopping hit, A Whole New World. Down there, on the ground, that's society. The system of rules and laws and social norms where everyone is fruitlessly toiling in the desperate hope that one day they might be able to earn their heart's desire. But with a magic carpet, Aladdin is quite literally above all that. Come with me, princess, and you will finally experience the life that you have been too timid and afraid to procure for yourself. Identify with me, and you'll be able to access vicariously some of the courage, some of the boldness that you need in order to fly above the rules and judgments and expectations of others. You can't do it yourself. How do I know that? Because if you could have done it, you would have done it by now. Identification with me is your ticket.
What does he mean by
out of the
identification
labyrinth
with?
of rules and self-denial, and an invitation into personal freedom, even if that personal freedom is fundamentally antisocial. If you're interested in taking your understanding to the next level, I would encourage you to check out the Captain's Quarters, my members-only self-improvement community. Your
Let's
monthly
change his
membership
shirt.
will get you access to a cadre of like-minded by men.
You. Just you.
Look at the ads.
Wealth that you won't find anywhere else. Click the link in the description for more information. Hope to see you aboard. Now, this is a big part of why women are attracted to wealthy men as well. Wealth, like antisocial boldness, allows people to live above the rules of society. I don't make the news, I just report it. Like, you've all been following the Epstein Files stuff, right? What we're seeing is the unveiling of a global cabal of elites that have long been operating over and above not only the rule of law, but the dictates of like basic human dignity and morality. Many of the revelations are disgusting and abhorrent, if not completely evil. But none of them should be completely surprising. People seek wealth and power in order to not be constrained by the forces that bind the masses. Rules for thee, but not for me, kind of a thing. So that's a big part of why women are attracted to wealth. Like antisocial tendencies, wealth offers a kind of liberation from the constraints that most people are resigned by their powerlessness to operate within. Aligning herself with these types of men allows a woman to vicariously participate in that freedom. Still not convinced? Well, here's another reason why bad boys are perpetually attractive to women, especially if they signal aggressiveness. Again, this is counterintuitive. Why are women...
Just bear with me, please. I know, man. I know. Just bear with me. It's a couple minutes. All right, we'll respond.
so much more concerned with their safety than men are? Because they navigate a world in which the vast majority of men are physically stronger than they are. If push came to shove, it would be very difficult for the average woman to defend herself from even an average man's physical aggression. Don't let the movies fool you. Women are aware of this on some level, which is why they say with their mouths that they are looking for a man who makes me feel safe. She doesn't feel safe most of the time. So why do so many of these women then align themselves with aggressive, if not brutal men? Because doing so dramatically decreases the number of potential threats to her. Think about it. Most men are, at least potentially, a physical threat to most women. And most men are not going to fuck with the most aggressive and brutal subset of men. Therefore, if a woman can succeed in aligning herself with the most threatening man, who no other man is going to threaten, then she has succeeded in reducing her number of potential threats from most men to one man. In such a case, all she has to do is stay safe from all men is to neutralize one of them, which she can do using her feminine wiles. Of course, a lot of these aggressive, brutal men, end up applying that aggression to the woman in question. So it's certainly not a risk-free strategy. But that's kind of the underlying, unconscious, evolutionarily grounded thought process around why women seek out dangerous men. And don't think that this is some kind of rare phenomenon. The average guy gets like 0 attention from women. Zero. Yet, there are literally murderers on death row for whom women are lining up for a conjugal visit. Now, you might say that these are broken women or unhealthy women or insert negative adjective women, but let me assure you, they are not all unattractive women. Too many female true crime podcast fans for that. So let that sink in. In any case, those are some of the reasons why women are always going to be attracted to bad boys. Aligning with bad boys significantly reduces the number of perceived threats associated with other men and allows women to vicariously enter into a kind of social freedom that they are too timid and afraid to procure for themselves. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And please, send this episode to someone who you think...
Oh yeah, send it to all your other immature projections. Oh man, that was painful. Yeah, you could see I gave it a dislike. Man, that was so painful, man. Sorry for the drama. Sorry for the dramatic. You can see my shit in the background here. I've got my DaVinci open in the back. I'm exporting a video while we speak. I'm just shoving all the errands in an hour. There's so much we're going to go into. Honestly, look, it's going to drag on. It's an 11-minute video, but I'm just going to... My intention is, if I can just rip into one video that deeply and I can rip apart his whole logic and his whole understanding in one video, then we don't need to watch 20 for me to get the point across, okay? You might be thinking, look, if you haven't watched enough of my content or any mature, actual, masculine psychotherapy niche content, you might be finding it hard. You might be finding it hard to disagree, okay? So let's go back to the start. So we want to get his definition of what an archetype is, okay? So he's clearly put the bad boy character as an archetype, right? He's put that in the category of archetype. So he's already merged, cognitive egos with archetypes, which are completely unconscious. Archetypes are not human phenomenon, okay? The manifestation of archetypal behavior through psychopathology is the phenomenon. Do you see, can you see what I'm saying? Can you see what's happening? All right, so let's watch the start again.
Flowers, a man who is emotionally available, etc., etc., etc. And allow me to assure you, a bad boy ain't doing any of that shit. And yet, he is going to enjoy a great deal of optionality when it comes to women. So let's talk about why this might be the case.
All right, let's talk about why this might be the case. when you have a bad boy, which he's implying does not do the romantic effort, does not put in the attention, does not give a fuck about social norms and social opinions, and, does not comply with the social norms and dating standards, right? He has labeled that as a bad boy, which is also antisocial, okay? So he's merged being antisocial as an aspect of the bad boy's character, right? You need to understand, okay, whoever's watching, you need to understand that to any psychological institute, doesn't matter what fundamental methods they practice on or study, antisocial behavior is a pathological symptom, right? It is not a healthy, mature indicator of a good, mature personality. Do you understand? Now, why can't he say, a good, mature, confident man is confident being away from society, is confident in his own presence, is confident in his own intentions and opinions, right? He's more confident in himself than the dating standards and the social norms. That is not antisocial. If you're antisocial, there is an unconscious problem that is going on in your personality, okay? You need therapy. If your antisocial behavior is affecting your personal life, you need therapy, man or woman, bad boy or bad girl. Why isn't he talking about the bad girls, right? So he's talking about, okay, let's see why that is. Why these bad boy archetypes have so much optionality from women, right? Not from narcissistic, abused, unhealed, immature psychopaths, all right? Now, you have a woman or a female narcissist that is being attracted to a man who is not treating her with the amount of respect that she believes she deserves. If she's being attracted to that, he's putting all of women in that general category. This is what women are attracted to. Now, okay, fair enough. The majority of women and men have pathological symptoms. There is a mass psychosis, okay? Most of the men and women are unconsciously narcissistic, all right? Unhealed trauma, unhealed child wounds, right? That have placed them in a unconscious, repetitive compulsion, a repetitive, compulsive behavior to be drawn to a person of the opposite sex that carries the projection of their conscious sexual, that will constantly abuse them until they can accept them, right? This is a deeply traumatic symptom, which again, okay, he's saying women, all right? He's saying why these bad boys have an abundance of, optionality of women. He's putting women in that general category. See what I'm saying? All right. Generally, most women do have those symptoms, right? That's the problem though. That's not normal. The problem is with the women, right? He's saying, he's implying that it's normal. This is normal. This is just what women are drawn to. Danger, right? Dangerous. All right, let's see what he says about this, what the bad boy's behavior implies.
First and foremost, you have to appreciate that bad boys violate rules and social norms. Like, that's essentially what makes them bad.
No, that's essentially what makes them antisocial, immature. to a psychologist, to a clinical psychologist, right? An actual therapist, so to a practitioner, right? Not someone who just studies psychology. To someone who studies behavioral psychology, someone who's antisocial is not healthy, is immature, hasn't individuated into their true mature egos due to unhealed traumas, men or women, all right? We got that? All right, so now can you see now, bad boys, antisocial? Do you see how he's merged them? Do you see how he's merged a pathological symptom in a man's behavior as a masculine archetype that normal women are attracted to? If these women are attracted to pathological symptoms, what is that telling you about the majority of women in the dating scene? All right? No hope, remember? I don't hope. But I don't know how clear I'm making this, all right?
However, leaving the moral judgment behind, it's this behavior that makes these men antisocial and dangerous. And dangerous men are attractive to women for a variety of reasons. First,
dangerous men are attractive to what kind of women? A dangerous man implies recklessness. A dangerous man is irresponsible, reckless, immature, inconsiderate. Why can't he just why can't he just say a mature man is capable of being comfortable in dangerous situations? A mature man is constantly and permanently prepared for dangerous situations. When a dangerous situation arises, he is comfortable and he is prepared, right? Can you see what he's trying to imply, the fucking idiot? If a woman is attracted to a dangerous man who is reckless, and she finds that attractive, okay? Now, where do you think the problem is? Do you think the problem is, all right, the man's behavior, that's his own behavior, right? Maybe it's not his fault. He's been abused, right, and neglected, and he's got unhealed traumatic symptoms, okay? Now, the woman being attracted to that, what does that tell you about the woman, all right? Why isn't he focusing on that, okay? You see where I'm going with the dangerous thing?
First, danger is exciting.
Exciting to who? You know, to a 17-year-old TikTok influencer that grew up without a dad? Do you think it's exciting to a 25-year-old mature, humbled, individuated, healed, mature woman? Do you think she's looking to bring a sense of disorganization and chaos into her life? Do you think that she's gonna find a man who has danger as the most exciting part of his life? Do you think she's going to find that attractive? Okay, it's rare. He's right. Let's say 90% of women are going to find that attractive. That's the problem. He's just accepted that this is the way women are now. There's nothing wrong with the woman. This is just what she finds attractive. And then he proceeds to try and elaborate and explain as to why this normal woman finds that attractive. If they're finding that attractive, there are deep traumatic problems in the woman.
And excitement, like by definition, is emotionally stimulating. And any effective seduction technique works precisely to the extent that it succeeds in stimulating a woman's emotions. However, there's a deeper reason behind why this particular form of emotional stimulation is so effective with women. Namely, it allows the woman to transcend her fear through identification. Say which...
He confused me with the identification thing. I think he's talking about projection. Okay? He's absolutely flopped. Like, he can't explain that the woman is projecting her masculine archetypes that carry the aggression. See, this guy's a psychologist. This guy hasn't read a fucking book on masculine psychology, bro. You know, he's on 1 million subs. He's on a fucking 1 million subs. This is what he's talking about. Yeah. I should just read the chapter on the warrior, right? These are archetypes. These are not human. The warrior that carries the discipline and the aggression and the capability of violence. He's talking about identification, right? He's talking about she's identified with the male. She's projected, she's idealized the male. In a projection of all of her aggression and capability of being comfortable in dangerous, violent situations, right? She's projected the masculine. She's split it off, and she's idealized this serial rapist, serial abuser, right? To carry that aggression and that dangerous aspect of the psyche for her. And then she's identified with that projection. Like, I could do a 5-hour videos on these idealized projections. Just try and watch all the content, right? But he's putting it so superficially, it's heart-wrenching to watch, honestly. Because the reason is because he's the top influencer in this niche. He's some bozo, I know, but like, I wouldn't bother with this if it wasn't so, like, you know, if there wasn't anyone listening to him, because then that would show me that, okay, the majority of people, the majority of men in this niche are woken up. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't trend. But this is what I'm talking about. The war on masculinity, true masculinity, is so deep and so subtle. This bozo can't even see what the fuck's going on. This company is promoting this, allowing this. It's condoning this logic so that the males watching can explain or can justify women's behavior against them, so they can hold the women responsible. Yeah, like, do you understand what I'm trying to say? He's lifted the responsibility off men's shoulders, right? For the counter-transference, for the projections they're having on women. And he's placing on women. And these psychologists, these psychoanalysts here, okay, if you can see the cursor, that control the technology that carries, you know, this media. They see this, they analyze this, and they say, this isn't a true priest. This isn't a guy that's actually woken up. He's not spitting out the actual problem. He's not transmitting the actual true message. Let's push, you know, let him out there, you know, let him cause the damage. And he's causing damage, right? See how subtle the war on true masculinity is? Masculinity is accountability, man. It's responsibility. All he wants to talk about is masculinity, while at the same time blaming the feminine, blaming the biological characters of his projections, which are females. He's blaming them, saying this is in their unconscious nature to why they're attracted to dangerous men. He's not only projected and idealized the women, he's idealizing bad boys. He's projecting on what he thinks, you know, a mature masculine man is.
What you want about antisocial men, but they possess some degree of courage. It takes courage to break rules and violate social norms.
No, it doesn't. It takes maturity. It takes maturity. You know what it takes to break rules and social etiquettes? Recklessness and immaturity. Like, why can't you admit that, man?
To say the thing that no one else is willing to say, and do the thing that no one else is willing to do.
That's just a mature man.
Most people, especially women, go through life afraid. There are...
Especially women. I would disagree there. Most people go through their lives afraid. I believe it's mostly men. Because if the majority of men didn't go through their lives being so afraid, we wouldn't have this fucking phenomenon of psychopathology.
Afraid of the consequences of acting according to their own desires or speaking their truth because they fear the resultant censure and social judgment. So the bad boy communicates through his actions that he has the courage to act in line with his desires and to speak his mind. This makes him incredibly attractive.
Maturity, bro. It's just maturity, man. If a girl thinks that you're a bad boy because you're confident and you speak your mind and you're confident in your opinions, and she thinks you're a bad boy because of that, what do you think? Do you think she's a real mature feminine woman?
As it suggests that he is both strong enough to exist without the approval of others and resourceful enough to exist without the support of others. Which segues into my next point. Bad boys give main character energy.
To who? To you? To you? They give main character energy. To who? You know, to the bunch of 23-year-olds at the club. You know, to the bunch of fatherless, sexually abused, neglected, narcissistically affected, 23-year-old, unhealed, damaged females. They see this bad boy drug dealer come in, you know. To them, he's main character energy, bro.
Why? Because they take what they want from life rather than ask permission to receive it. Most people are working within the system to scrape together the satisfaction of their desires. They wait and they toil and they submit and they obey. But bad boys don't do that. If they want it, they take it.
A mature man does that, bro. Why do you have to be a bad boy to actually just live your life how a masculine, mature man should just live, bro? You know, do you think, the 60-year-old farmers digging out there, ploughing their fields, their hectares of fields, at 5 a.m, doing what they need to do. Do you think they're waiting for your opinions? Do you think they're waiting for your judgment? Are they bad boys, bro? They're just fucking common masculine men. Look at this. Look at his face. That's like my face when I heard him say, the bad boy archetype, literally.
Or, at the very least, they have the courage to operate within their own systems. Consider the Disney movie Aladdin, in which Princess Jasmine falls for Aladdin, our lovable street rat. Aladdin...
Alright, unlucky for this bozo, we looked at a whole bunch of Disney movies, plays, musicals, ballets, operas. We looked at a lot of classical theatre in the course, right? We did a little small, like, quick analysis on a few Disney movies. There was Aladdin, Lion King, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast. So we're going to get into Aladdin a little bit here, okay? So you heard, when I played the video before, you have to pick up on how he unconsciously places Princess Jasmine, right? Who is just another Disney princess. Remember, the locked up maiden in the tower, okay? The locked up feminine in the tower. Now you have to see how he unconsciously holds the princess, the shadow queen archetype, the shadow maiden locked up in the tower as the prize, right? He says that this common street rat was able to seduce the sultan's daughter, like she's the prize, right? Why? Okay, now you have to try and, remember, if you've ever watched or heard me talk about, basic little psychoanalysis on these Disney princesses, okay, what personality disorder that these princesses are illustrated as, literally, okay? The Disney movies are archetypal, right? The princess locked up in the tower represents the split off feminine who is not allowed to individuate, is not allowed to shine in her beauty. She's locked up by her narcissistic stepmother or mother or grandmother or father or king father or sultan father, okay? Now, this represents a lot of culture today, okay? The feminine is repressed, right? This is patriarchal culture, cross-culture across the world, the East and Western cultures, okay? The feminine has been unconsciously repressed and abused and neglected, okay? Now, they're princesses, okay? They are beauty queens. They are Jezebels. They are the physical representations of the beauty of the divine aspect of our creation, all right, of God. A woman's beauty, a feminine beauty, is the female is God's feminine beauty, okay? The male is God's masculine beauty. This is what I'm trying to get at, okay? When that person, that female carrying that consciousness is locked away, as represented in all of these Disney movies, this is the result of mass psychopathology in our culture, especially my Middle Eastern culture, okay? This issue is so huge, like this topic, you know what I mean? That's why it's hard not to go schizophrenic here, because it's such a unbelievably, it's like he's trying to, imagine like he's trying to talk about, like, he's trying to sum up World War II, you know, just talking about, like, I don't know, France's involvement. That's it, you know. He's talking about something like historical. So massive, it's so macro, but he's trying to force it into a superficial understanding by using these Disney movies. The Disney movies represent the mass psychosis, the mass phenomenon of psychopathology in our human culture, okay? You see what I'm saying? Like, he's just sparking these flames that are burning down forests. He's just sparking them, and he's just like running away. Next point. That's why it's hard not to go schizophrenic, all right? So back to the Disney princesses. We'll continue, but I just wanted to try and make you aware of what he's doing by referring to the Disney princesses and unconsciously implying that they are normal, human, mature personalities. They're not. If you studied any psychology, forget about Jungian psychology, if you studied any cognitive or self or behavioral psychology or psychotherapy or anything, you know that these princesses have been they're based on women in culture, females, daughters, that have been narcissistically affected by their parents, resulting in a narcissistic, active dependent, active ambivalent, passive ambivalent personality disorders, right? These antisocial, passive aggressive, ambivalent, active dependent, histrionic personality disorders. And they are the most beautiful women that you'll see in real life, are the most narcissistic. It's correlated. It's perfectly correlated, right? They are princesses. For that, they are that beautiful for a reason. It's because of something, right? Of course, it's biological, but it's also the way they display themselves, okay? They've identified, they're completely unconscious to their identification with the archetype, right? You're not dealing with a human being. You're dealing with a borderline personality, someone who is unconscious. I'm trying to get this point across. This whole Aladdin thing was just a huge thing. It's just so hard to like not put it into a 3-hour psychoanalysis, okay? All right.
First and foremost, he's a criminal. He's a thief.
Aladdin.
He exists in the underclass of society, and yet he succeeds in seducing the Sultan's daughter.
Who is a passive dependent personality, a borderline, histrionic. See, why does he just talk about the bad boy here? Why doesn't he talk about the criminal was what the criminal managed to attract? You know, like, do you see what I'm saying here?
He does so under false pretenses, granted, but it kind of requires a dangerous antisocial personality to seduce under false pretenses, doesn't it? In any case, that's the deeper meaning of the movie's show-stopping hit, A Whole New World. Down there, on the ground, that's society. The system of rules and laws and social norms where everyone is fruitlessly toiling in the desperate hope that one day they might be able to earn their heart's desire. But with a magic carpet, Aladdin is quite literally above all that. Come with me, princess, and you will finally experience the life that you have been too timid and afraid to procure for yourself. Identify with me, and you'll be able to access vicariously some of the courage.
All right, so I think with the identification now, he's implying, allow me to carry your projection. Allow me to carry your transference. You transfer your independence and your courage to me. You project your masculine consciousness to me, allow me to carry it, and I will be a good carrier, and I will show you the life that you could have on this magic carpet delusion, right? This is the actual recipe. This is the plumbing of an immature psychopathic relationship. He's not talking about it as an immature relationship. He's talking about it as why women want bad boys. How much deeper do I need to go?
Some of the boldness that you need in order to fly above the rules and judgments and expectations of others. You can't do it yourself. How do I know that? Because if you could have done it, you would have done it by now.
If you could have individuated into your mature feminine self, your true mature feminine self, you would have done it by now. So instead of the female, instead of her ego choosing to individuate and mature into her true self, who can disidentify with the archetypal center that carries her whole center of being, right? Her archetypal self, right? He's saying that Aladdin is telling Jasmine, allow me to carry your center of wholeness that allows you to become free of social judgments, right, and social norms. Allow me to carry that for you. And by identifying with that projection, now you can see life the way I do, right, and become free. In other words, allow me to carry your projection and we can live our lives happily in a psychosis, in an immature psychosis for the rest of our lives, right? We're going to get into real life representations in Hollywood, all right? Like, I want to talk about Scarface. We'll talk a little bit about more of these underworld movies, so I can show you a more real life illustration of the archetypal image in Disney movies, all right? Represented in these Hollywood illustrations, okay? So, to me that made sense. I don't know how clear I'm making it.
Identification with me is your ticket out of the labyrinth.
Not identification with me. Identification with your projection. Jasmine is idealizing Aladdin by placing him on the pedestal, allowing Aladdin to carry her independence, her center of being, her masculine archetype that she split off due to her daddy sultan issues, right? That's all it is. That's what that 10-15 minute lecture was, I was telling you, about her idealized projection. It's just daddy issues, man. The daddy issues goes deeper than you ever imagined. Trust me. Why doesn't he call it daddy issues? Why doesn't he say Jasmine is being attracted to this reckless criminal because of her daddy issues? This reckless criminal is dangerous and independent and autonomous, right? Does that mean he's healed? Does that mean he knows how to help this princess, this locked maiden, this sociopathic, antisocial, passive-aggressive, ambivalent, histrionic, borderline personality? Does that mean he's allowing her to help her individuate and mature? Or is he allowing her to carry the projection? Allowing her to project onto him so that they can live comfortably in a psychosis, in an immature relationship. I told you, I'm going to try to rip apart this video. The more I can rip this apart, I can, you don't have to watch any more of the content, because then you can see the fundamental biases in his cognitive ego, All right? That's my plan. That was my strategy. Instead of, I can't waste 100 hours on just going video after video. You know what I mean? If I dismantle it, if I'm able to dismantle it, that finally, then everything will be exposed. And you can move on. We can move on to the next level, you know?
Of rules and self-denial and an invitation into personal freedom.
Self-denial. It's talking about psychosis or what?
Even if that personal freedom is fundamentally antisocial. If you're interested in taking your understanding mindset of why women are attracted to wealthy men as well. Wealth, like antisocial boldness, allows people to live above the rules of society. I don't make the news, I just report it.
Yeah, bullshit. You don't fucking make your own rules. Bullshit. Women aren't really attracted to the actual wealth. They're attracted to what it can provide. They're attracted to the lifestyle it can provide them. They want lifestyle. It's not about actually being attracted to the money. Women are obviously attracted to the one who can provide the tribal village with food and sustenance.
You've all been following the Epstein Files stuff, right? What we're seeing is the unveiling
Honestly, I don't know why you got into this.
Cabal of elites that have long been operating over and above not only the rule of law, but the dictates of basic human dignity and morality. Many of the revelations are disgusting and abhorrent, if not completely evil. But none of them should be completely surprising. People seek wealth and power in order to not be constrained by the forces that bind the masses. Rules for thee, but not for me, kind of a thing.
You don't need that much power. You just need maturity, bro. You just need peace. You just need healing. You just need to heal, bro. If you need $1 billion to elevate your cognitive ego above, the acceptance of society, what does that say about your maturity?
Thing. So that's a big part of why women are attracted to wealth. Like antisocial tendencies, wealth offers a kind of liberation from the constraints that most people are
antisocial
resigned by their
is just
powerlessness.
It's the wrong word. I don't know why he's saying antisocial. Does he mean independence? You just mean independence, bro. Antisocial, that's a pathological symptom. That's a clinical red flag. It's a symptom, you know what I mean? It's like this person's coming to the hospital, coughing out blood or something like that. There's a problem there. It's antisocial. That's a symptom. It's a behavioral symptom. It's unconscious. These guys are psychologists.
To operate within. Aligning herself with these types of men allows a woman to vicariously participate in that freedom. Still not convinced?
Allows the woman to identify with her idealized projection.
Well, here's another reason why bad boys are perpetually attractive to women, especially if they signal aggressiveness. Again, this is counterintuitive. Why are women so much more concerned with their safety than men are? Because they navigate a world in which the vast majority of men are physically stronger than they are. If push came to shove, it would be very difficult for the average woman to defend herself from even an average man's physical aggression. Don't let the movies fool you. Women are aware of this on some level, which is why they say with their mouths that they are looking for a man who makes me feel safe. She doesn't feel safe most of the time. So why do so many of these women then align themselves with aggressive, if not brutal, men.
So does a man's aggression, does a man's lack of ability to control his aggression imply maturity? And then, even worse, if the woman that's attracted to that ends up being physically abused, then who do you blame? Like, the problem is, do you see the problem, man? He's talking about women that are unconsciously projecting their aggression, their masculine archetype that is responsible for their discipline, for their aggression, and for their assertiveness, and for their independence. The fucking warrior, man. The Amazon for the feminine, right? If you're a feminine watching this, and you're unaware of the archetype inside your unconscious, inside your primitive brain that is responsible. There is something responsible in your brain, in your psyche, in your nature, right? There is a biological mechanism that allows you to be aggressive, to be assertive, to be confrontational, to be disciplined, right? And loyal and honorable, right? These are all coming from one archetype, which is your warrior. For the feminine, it's your Amazon. It's your war. It's your Venus, your goddess of war. It's Athena, right? It's your Amazon. It is either integrated into your personality, or it has been abused out of your personality and split off. And it is split off until you find a masculine who is carrying that for you. And as a result, he's carrying that much aggression for you that it ends up resulting in your own domestic violence. You end up being physically abused. This is what he's talking about, right? But he's saying that, like, it's not really the problem, you know, with the woman. He's saying the woman, like, this is her nature. She needs someone who is, you know, unapologetically aggressive. But the hard thing for the woman is that when she finds a masculine who is unapologetically aggressive, the bad boy, that it results in them even, you know, the aggression ends up turning towards them, right? You need to understand, right? There is a problem that puts you in that situation. That problem does not lie with the man. He has his own reasons why he is physically abusive, okay, to his idealized projections. Those reasons are coming from his own immaturity. If you're attracted to that, to the point where you're in a relationship sharing accommodation, right? You need to become conscious that there is something in you that your ego is refusing to carry for yourself. It cannot bear to become conscious of your own capability of aggression because it was abused out of you. Whatever was not integrated into your personality and your conscious ego is split off. Okay, whatever your ego cannot carry for yourself, it splits it off for someone else to carry, whether it's your parent or your partner or your friend. Most of the time it's with your friends, right? Your dangerous friend, your reckless, aggressive friend that's confrontational, that you have to call when you need to confront someone, that you need to call when you need relationship advice on how to be independent, right? There is a deep, deep psychological problem with a woman who is willing to be physically abused in order to feel true acceptance in a relationship. That is called sadomasochism. We're going into psychopathological territory, right? But he's not addressing it as a psychopathological issue. He's not even really addressing it as an issue for the woman. Like, it is kind of an issue for the woman, but he's not making any clarifications on what the problem is. He's saying that this is just their unconscious nature. No, man. Both genders have a responsibility to mature and individuate and break the transferences, okay? Both genders are responsible for withdrawing all of their projections, all of their archetypal projections, breaking all the transferences to your parents, to your friends, to your celebrity idols, especially to your intimate partners. You withdraw the archetypal center. You withdraw your king or your queen. You withdraw that transference. You break the transference and you withdraw that projection from your intimate partner back into yourself. You stop becoming a narcissist. You stop becoming a passive or active dependent histrionic borderline, right? You break the transference. You mature into an adult. You don't need another person to become physically aggressive with you in order that you can think that you're maturing by identifying with their personality. It's all right, if I'm going this long, I'm going to just rip into it, honestly. Not as much as I can, but I'm going to rip into this. And hopefully it'll just take, I keep saying hopefully, or that I hope. Not hopefully, I will say inshallah, right? God willing, that it will, by dismantling this content, it could be any video that I clicked on, it will knock down the pillars that his whole existence relies on, his whole online existence relies on, right? I'm doing it a bit irresponsibly and a little bit recklessly because it'll just take 100 hours. I mean, otherwise, I'm using the psychology and the knowledge as a defensive weapon. It's a blade, okay? The knowledge is the blade, the truth that cuts through the absolute walls and dimensions of falsehood. It plows through them without even being affected. It knocks down the pillars, right? One after the other, poof, 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 right? That's what I'm using the knowledge for, okay? That's what I'm explaining to, other students and the mentors, okay? Like, they saw some of the journals, some of the content. I haven't showed it to any of the therapists, but I'll talk about this in another video actually. So we'll try and finish the video, all right? Let's, we'll go a bit deeper if we have to, but I'm sure now you have at least, you're on a same page, or we're getting to the same page of what the problem is behind this false masculinity, okay?
Because doing so dramatically decreases the number of potential threats to her. Think about it. Most men are, at least potentially a physical threat to most women. And most men are not going to fuck with the most aggressive and brutal subset of men. Therefore, if a woman can succeed in aligning herself with the most threatening man, who no other man is going to threaten.
Not threatening, bro. A mature woman would rather die than secure a threatening man. No, a mature woman wants to secure a mature man who is capable of being threatening to threats, other threats. He himself is not threatening. If the woman is trying to secure a man who she finds threatening, then the problem is within her subconscious. There is a deep psychopathological reason. She's psychopathic. If a woman wants a physically abusive man who is threatening to her safety, she's a psychopath. Don't worry about him. Don't worry about the dude. She's a psychopath. The only way she can be in touch with her aggression and assertiveness and violence, or capability of violence, is by projecting it onto a male and then identifying with that projection. Oh, I'm not this violent. I'm not this sadistic. I'm not this masochistic, borderline narcissistic, histrionic personality. You know, yeah, but my husband bashes me, my 3 kids every night. He's an alcoholic, right? I'm not aggressive. He is. Bullshit. That guy, the abusive partner, the physically abusive partner, is not the sadistic masochist, right? He's got his own pathological symptoms. The sadistic masochist is the abused, not the abuser, right? The abuser has a whole other range of pathological symptoms, right? Traumatic symptoms. The abused would rather stay abused than individuating into a mature ego, into a mature adult. That's where the sadomasochism comes from. That's what's sadistic about their personality. They only find comfort in pain and suffering. They would rather, this is where the masochism comes in. They would rather sacrifice their own maturity, their own progression in consciousness, all right? Let me reword it, okay? If you have a woman who remains in an intimate relationship with a man who is physically abusive against her, then the pathological symptoms lie within her own subconscious. She is sacrificing her own maturity, her own progression in consciousness, right? Her consciousness in becoming aware of what she is projecting onto this male that's physically abusing her. Do you understand? The woman is sacrificing that awareness. She doesn't want to turn the page to the book, right? Her unconscious knows the reason, okay? Her unconscious knows, right, that if the ego turns the page and reads the next page, the unconscious knows it's gonna collapse and it has to evolve, right? So it will force the ego to repress that awareness to stay alive. That's the masochism at work. That is the masochism of the shadow at work. She's a sadistic masochist. She's sacrificing her own maturity. You know, look, the sacrifice is probably the most necessary thing it's the most necessary step for your maturity, okay? It's one of the most fundamental things you need to do to mature into a healthy ego, okay? But when the ego has been that abused to the point where the sacrificing is on full automatic, right? The ego doesn't know where the off switch is. It's sacrificing relationship after relationship after relationship. It's sacrificing, its own progression in consciousness. You're sacrificing your own future self. You're sacrificing the identification with your true self. You're sabotaging your own growth. That's where the masochism comes in. Do you understand? Look at the problem of what's happening and look at how he's addressing it. This is why I'm going so schizophrenic. Do you understand? There is a psychopathological reason that is almost impossibly deep, right? That's just taking decades and decades and decades of research just to understand why our primitive nature is driving our egos into sadomasochism, into this absolutely unprecedented amount of pain endurance in the ego that we've never seen ever in our human history. It's a historical amount of sadomasochism, sadistic personalities. We'll get it finished.
Then she has succeeded in reducing her number of potential threats from most men to one man. In such a case, all she has to do is stay safe from all men is to neutralize one of them, which she can do using her feminine wiles. Of course, a lot of these aggressive, brutal men shock.
Not just aggressive, brutal men, immature, unhealed males. They're not brutal, right? He's saying brutal as some kind of virtue almost, It's just their aggression. It's just their masculinity. Bullshit, bro. Bullshit. All garbage, man. All garbage. I should report this video. I should report this upload. I'm going to report it. Let's see. Harassment. Misinformation. It's not like they don't consider it misinformation if they're the ones fucking condoning it. Spam or misleading. You're reported, bro. Oh, hopefully this doesn't get rid of the algorithm actually, because I need to do more videos. I'm going to report this. That was obviously pretty pointless, but I want to be that dramatic. These brutal, aggressive men, these unhealed, masochistic little boys that cannot handle their own alienation without becoming violently aggressive towards their idealized self, which is their projected feminine.
End up applying that aggression to the woman in question. So it's certainly not a risk-free strategy. But that's kind of the underlying, unconscious, evolutionarily grounded thought process around why women seek out dangerous men.
Why women? See what I'm saying? Why women? He's putting it generally. Like this is just their unconscious. And this is just the risk they have to take. Do you think a mature woman wants to take a risk? A mature, healed, individuated woman who has withdrawn her projection, she's withdrawn her idealization of the masculine, and she's integrated it into her personality. Do you think that kind of woman is willing to risk her own physical safety from another bozo that she finds attractive?
And don't think that this is some kind of rare phenomenon. The average
This guy's
guy
full of shit,
gets
bro.
like zero attention from women. Zero. Yet, there are literally
That sounded
murderers
personal.
on death row for whom women are lining up.
And look how we just brushes past these broken women, right? That are lining up for these murderers on death row, right? Oh, you might call them. Remember, he says negative adjective or
For
whatever.
a conjugal visit. Now, you might say that these are broken women or unhealthy women
See? Oh man, you see how he belittled it? You see how he belittled this massive phenomenon? See, he just said it's not a rare phenomenon. This is a massive psychopathological epidemic, right? You might say they're just broken women. Bro, they are not just broken, they are almost terminally wounded. They are wounded to the point that they have become psychopathic, bro. This guy's fucking full of shit, bro.
Certain negative adjective women, but let me assure you, they are not all unattractive women. Too many female true crime podcast fans for that. So let that sink in. In any case, those are some of the reasons why women are always going to be attracted to bad boys. Aligning with bad boys significantly reduces the number of perceived threats associated with other men and allows women to vicariously enter into a kind of social freedom that they are too timid and afraid to procure for themselves.
This guy's fucking full of shit, bro. I mean, it's just full of shit, honestly, man. Full of absolute smelly garbage. All smelly garbage, man. Allows them to procure that lives for their own, right? Identifying with the bad boy. They're not so immature that they've idealized the masculine and projected all of their aggression and assertiveness onto that male, right? So the problem isn't with the woman, that's just their unconscious nature. What a load of fucking rubbish, bro. Honestly, man. I mean, honestly, like... The comments here. Just going reading the comments. Poor man, this guy's hurt pretty deep. A great defense against the monsters of this word or world, it means, is to have a monster of your own. This guy's pretty wounded. Ex-wife cheated on me. She went to tell me how the guy was a pillhead. Got arrested. Lost his job. I'm straight laced as they come. It just further showed me how much this is true. See, all the bozos like this, right? All the bozos and the rest of the 412 that like them, they're that immature that they've blamed themselves. I mean, you could just see it. They've blamed themselves for the daddy issues of their ex-partner that cheated on them, right? I mean, you can blame yourself for choosing this kind of partner, right? but then they take it personal against them. It just shows you. You just go through the comments, you know what I mean? You go and you kind of get a observation on the kind of engagement that the content is receiving. And you're just like, wow, man. They're laughing at us, bro. They are laughing at us. These guys here. See this? See this? They are laughing at us. Once you realize the true war on true masculinity, the actual war on masculinity, you won't, like, if you become awake to it, you're just like, whoa, right? You won't be scared. I'm not scared. It's hard to find the word. It's like, you know, imagine like, it's just 1,000 times bigger than you ever imagined. So what's the word? Maybe overwhelmed, right? You're just scratching your head. You're like, oh man, I thought like the battle was going on in this city. But then you zoom out and it's like, oh, it's going on in the state. And then you zoom out and it's going on in the whole country. And then you zoom out and you're like, whoa, the whole world. Zoom out more and you realize that the universe you're in is programmed against you. The universe that you're in, you know what I mean? You're zooming out, zooming out, zooming out, and you're like, whoa. And you're like, fuck, man, where do I start? You know, I went in to battle, ready, put the armor on, let's go to battle. But then you realize how subtle and ahead they are. They're like 50 steps ahead, man. They're 50 steps ahead. They're seeing this in the future. They're seeing that the consciousness of men to their assertive masculinity has been increasing, right? So they have to compensate quickly and they start pushing this. They start condoning it. And they say, yes, all you little boys, blame the women. The women are the problem, right? They don't know what a real man is. They're too attracted to these bad boys. Yes, yes, yes. Women, women, women. Blame the women. Blame the women. Blame your idealized projections. By you blaming the person, you've idealized them. You've given them responsibility for your own individuated ego, bro. You don't think they know that, man? You don't think they know that, you fucking bozo? Anyway, I don't know if I'm going to do another one of Taraban, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll see you next one. Good luck to you.